Hello, everybody out in Facebook land, whoever is around to listen and watch and be entertained. We are live once again on Facebook Live. Here I have Scott and Matt with me tonight. What's up, guys?
Evening.
Had a fun night of trunk-or-treating with my kids, so yeah.
What did you dress up as?
I went as a big, scary Southerner.
Oh,
Excuse me, let me change that. A little
Small
tiny
Southerner.
scary Southerner.
Can you
Could have gone as Forrest Gump.
Yeah, can you give us your best Forrest Gump impersonation?
Stupid is as stupid does, sir.
That's pretty good. You did it. Good job. So we're trying here Facebook Live, and we are Enchanted Tiki Talk podcast. You can find us at enchantedtikitalk.com. For those who do not know, that's where you can find us. Hey, Kay, look at you. You're on the screen. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the magic stuff that I just did. Cool. Pretty neat. So when questions pop up, I'll put them on there. So with us tonight, I have a very, very special guest that's going to join us here. I'm going to have to kick out Scott or Matt or myself to be part of it. But I have Jimmy from the Disney Nerds. You know, it's a Disney Nerds podcast. It's a Disney Nerds group on Facebook. So I'm going to bring Jimmy on up here. And let's see here. Let's get rid of Matt. He looks scary. Jimmy, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not too much.
Glad I could be here. I was telling Sean before you started, I'm wearing my Mickey Mouse Hawaiian shirt for the occasion. I felt like being a little bit festive since it is the Enchanted Tiki Talk.
Yes, it's very, very festive in here. As you can see behind me, there's which hands here. It's there's Italian ice being made over here, pictures, books, windows. It's very festive over here, and Scott's all dressed to the nines.
It looks like you're in the tiki room.
Yeah, just about.
Right.
So, Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you tell our listeners, our viewers, everybody outside the Tiki Hut a little bit about yourself, your love of Disney, and your Facebook group and podcast.
So my name is Jimmy Horne. Me and my buddy Ed started the Disney Nerds podcast started the podcast about 4 years ago. Man, we've been going strong ever since. We've done some host changes, and I don't know exactly your guys' like geographical makeup, but for us, we have me in New Orleans, Ed in Philadelphia, Sam in Pittsburgh, Charlotte in Atlanta, Lisa in Massachusetts, and Jennifer in Ohio. So we're like literally scattered all over the country. So we've been doing that. It actually started with the group. So I started the group a while back, and that started because of my travel agency. I started a travel agency and then found out that I could not post my travel agency in Disney groups.
Right.
So I got browbeat for that for a little bit because I didn't know any better. So I said, you know what? I'll start my own group. And that's how I started Disney Nerds. And my buddy Ed was already doing a podcast called the We're Going to the Walt Disney World podcast that he was doing with his children at the time. And I reached out to him to sponsor his podcast as a travel agent. And then just after me and him kind of building a relationship, I said, hey, what do you think about doing a different podcast that, me and you, and it's just grown over the years. So, the Facebook group has about 22,000 members.
Wow.
We keep it pretty drama free and,
drama free. That's impossible in the Disney land.
in Disney Facebook land. You would think it is impossible, but we've got a great group of admins who we constantly, and look, we want people to be able to post their opinions and stuff. We don't try and, just get rid of people because they have a different opinion than somebody else. But thank you, Daniel. So that's my buddy Daniel Sisneros, who wrote the book Disney Tale of the Tape, and I got to be one of the judges in that book, and he's he's doing the second Disney Tale of the Tape. I think it's in production now. So,
why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Because I'm not familiar with it.
So Daniel Sisneros is a friend of ours. He's been a fan of our podcast probably since the beginning, but he is really known in the boxing world.
Okay.
So he has this big, huge passion for boxing, in addition to a huge passion for Disney. So he kind of took those two things and kind of mashed them together. And his book, the first book, just this Disney Tale of the Tape, Theme Park Boxing, he basically takes attractions and kind of pairs them up and then judges them like a boxing match.
Okay.
In different rounds and different judges. So it's really cool. It's a different concept, and it's not your a Disney guidebook.
Gotcha. It's something I'd have to check out. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I'll bring you a copy down next week.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah, talking about that, you're having a meetup with your podcast group, and we're having a meetup with our podcast group as well. I know you're having a scavenger hunt on Saturday the 4th, and we're just having a meetup at 1:00. So tell our listeners a little bit about your meetup on Saturday.
So we have a meetup on Saturday. We're going to start and this is our 4th year doing this. This is the 4th year that we've actually gotten all of us, the podcast hosts, down to Walt Disney World together from all over the country. The first year was in Epcot during Food and Wine. Second year was Hollywood Studios. Last year was Magic Kingdom. We did one half of Magic Kingdom because Magic Kingdom. So there's a lot to do for a scavenger hunt. So this year we're back at Magic Kingdom, but we're doing the other side. So we're going to meet up about 11:00 on Center Street, which is right off of Main Street. It's the first right.
Yep.
We team people up together. Some people come as teams. We team people up together. We hand out the scavenger hunt. We tell them where to meet at about 2:00, and they go out and it's a lot of fun. You will learn. You will learn something. I promise you during these scavenger hunts. There's a lot of great stuff. Ed puts them together, and he does a fantastic job. And then from me and your discussion, Sean, your meetup is actually part of our scavenger, and I won't give too many details away, but we kind of included nice. You. So
yeah, we're excited about that. We'll certainly be there. Anybody who's going to come by to grab whatever is part of the scavenger hunt. So it'll be exciting for us to be a part of it. We're looking forward to it because it's fun. There's so many Disney podcasts out there, and it's always great when you can interact with ones you have never interacted with before.
Right,
it's just great, not only building your brand, building our own brand as well, but becoming friends during this whole process. So it's fun.
I've, over the past 4 years, I've got to be friends with a lot of people that do different YouTube pages and podcasts and web pages and stuff like that. I've got to meet Lou Mangello multiple times. Fantastic guy. We've done joint mashup shows with Rod Wheaton, who is from the WDW Mousinger podcast. He's a great guy. So in January, we met with him on Center Street, and we did a live show, but we recorded and made a podcast out of it right there. So it was awesome. Me and Lisa from our show and Rod and his son Jacob from his show. So I think that's one of the greatest things is getting down there and doing meetups and getting to meet listeners and people who watch you. But in addition to that, just anybody and that has a common interest and is part of the community. Yeah,
it's great when you get to meet listeners or anybody inside the Disney community, because me being from New Jersey, granted, there's a lot of Disney fans in New Jersey. There's a couple of podcasters up here. But when you get down to Disney World, you're able to interact with them and see they're able to see you, to see your face a little bit more, because we've gotten comments before that they were surprised what we look like or the magic has been ruined for them. But now they can put a face to the voice, and it's exciting for them because now they can see, hear, and when they get to meet you, it's a whole nother thing going on because they've been listening to you for so many years that getting to meet somebody that your voice you've only ever heard on the radio, your car, your headphones, whatever it's going to be, it's amazing for people. And that's, I know I was the same way, listening to podcasts going for years, listening to Lou and Ricky Brigandi from Inside the Magic, and when you finally meet them, holy cow, I've been listening to you for 5 years. This is crazy.
It is. It's pretty incredible to put that face with the name. And I think we're bridging the gap a little bit by doing these live shows where you can be more interactive with the people who like to watch and get the information. Now, what we found when we've been doing our live stream for about 6 months, and we found that there is some crossover, but it's kind of a different audience than the people who listen to the podcast as opposed to watch the live streams. The podcast listeners seem to be a little more passive. Like they don't. I've had trouble in the past getting those people to interact. It seems like they want to be kind of maybe not disconnected, but they like just listening to it at their leisure as opposed to being completely like interact constantly. So it's interesting, but I think it is bridging the gap a little bit. And just in the 6 months we've been going live so far. Lisa was down in the parks not too long, I think in August, and she had 2 or 3 different people that watch us walk up to her and knew who she was just from telling those. So it's fantastic to get to meet those people. And I always tell people what's great about it is, we are also having a meet on November 3rd, Friday night at Epcot. It's what we call our half sample-thon and it started about 2 years ago. We're supposed to have the second half last year, but got canceled because of Hurricane Matthew. But the first year, it was during the same weekend as Wine and Dine. And me and Ed are so we don't run, but we'll have a meetup and we'll walk through World Showcase and sample different things along the way. So
there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No, that's how we came up with half. That's how we came up with half sample-thon. So we stroll our way. This year we're going to start at 5:00 in Canada and stroll our way to America, and then in America we're going to watch the concert at 8:00, and then we'll probably watch Illuminations. But one of the things that we always talk about is like during those meetups and stuff, we get to meet so many fantastic people. And typically in real life, when you meet somebody new or you put in an environment where you don't know everyone, you feel like there's always that little bit of awkwardness.
Right.
But when you go into a meetup like this, you kind of skip right by that because you know that there's that common thread. You know that these people are part of the Disney community and they're fans. So you've always got that just to talk about to break the monotony a little bit.
Right. So the one thing I want to talk about, and I brought Matt on here at the bottom of the screen. What's up, Matt?
Hey guys.
Hello, Matt.
So we're all getting together during the Wine and Dine weekend, and Jimmy, you were talking about how that you're not a runner, and that you're going to go from
not a runner.
Yeah, you're going to go from place to place sampling things. Matt here he's a little bit crazy. Matt, you're participating in every single race that's going on this weekend. Next weekend, I should say.
Oh,
right?
My goodness.
Yeah, I'm doing the 5K, the 10K, and then the half marathon. So
we have a running joke on our show that if you see me running, you probably should run. Yeah, I am not a runner.
Yeah, it'll be interesting when I get down there because, I run around here, but I don't run and then go spend all day in the parks. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes things and what it does to my feet and legs and how quick I'm ready to call it a day and go back to the room.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. Like that's like one thing I've never thought of because we're all doing the 5K for Allan, one of the original co-hosts who unfortunately passed away Christmas Eve last year. He was planning on running during the Wine and Dine weekend, and because he's not here to do it, we're also doing with Allan's wife. So it's something that we can do as a group in Allan's honor. So we're excited to do that. Even though it's only the 5K, I'm still worried about my feet during that time because that's going to be thousands of extra steps that, granted, I do 25, 30,000 steps when I'm Disney anyway on a given day, but now I'm going to be throwing another 5,000, 10,000 more steps on top of it. So that's one thing I'm worried about with the running.
I think you'll be fine. I think it's such a great show of unity, and I think it's fantastic what you're doing. I had heard of you guys before. I was not an avid listener, but Lisa, who's on the podcast and does the live stream with me, really like that. Before she became a part of the Disney Nerds podcast, she was a fan, and our show and your show was the two fans that she was, the two shows that she was really, really a fan of. So when I told her, that you guys were going to be kind of participating in our meetup, and then I told her earlier today that I was going to be going live with you guys, she was really excited to tune in. And so I think it's awesome. And what a great reason to do it.
Yeah. And, when it comes to like podcasting, the one thing I would love to be able to do is one of these years to get like 20 podcasts together and have a huge meetup in Disney, whether it's renting out, because I know there are some podcasts that have the ability, that have enough listeners where they can rent out a place, just like WDW Retro did for Epcot's 35th. They did a big party, a big meetup for people. Granted, they charge for that, but if you can get 20 podcasts together and you're going to get enough people to show up to one of these things, you can put on an incredible event for the listeners in all these different groups there.
I think you could probably get 5 or 6 together and do it.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
Yeah. I mean, the more that you're right, because the more and you get people to RSVP, the bigger event you can do. So I know Lou Mangello does those. Hell, he just did a trip to the Adventures by Disney China. So, and I know he's done, I think the first year we did our meetups, Jennifer Kaufman, who was part of our podcast and still is, but she went and did one of his events, and it was like a dinner at Tower of Terror. So those are fantastic. But you're right, it's tough to do when you're kind of a small podcast in comparison to some of these bigger ones, and it's hard to get the people to RSVP. And we actually talked about that, trying to put together. It doesn't have to be anything great. It could be a dessert party. It could be, especially during food and wine. You can rent an area out by World Showcase Lagoon and do a Illuminations dessert party or something like that. And
it'd be fun. It would be a fun thing to do. I would totally be up for it.
Yeah, it would be awesome to do. But I mean, Sean, think about how hard it was for the 4 of us to try and get a schedule together and put everything. Could you imagine trying to get that together with however many other people? I mean, that would just be logistical. It would be a nightmare, but it would be awesome to bring everybody together. I think that would be a fun thing to do.
Well, I think it's a little bit easier because you're just going to have a specific agenda, whether it's going to be a 4-hour window and you're going to stick to that 4-hour window during your meetup, because you're probably only going to do one day. I mean, unless you're going to do a whole weekend for it, a whole weekend fest, which is certainly in the realm of possibilities. But if you're only going to do one day at a party, one of the dessert parties, it's not that hard to schedule that and work around that. The biggest problem is going to be getting the hosts from the podcast to get together and prepare for that event. That'll be the hard part.
Right.
To be honest with you, I think so. This trip we're doing down there coming up, last year I started. I've been doing group rooms for the Disney Nerds podcast meetups, and they say you need a minimum of 10, so you have to kind of get 10. But last year I was getting worried, so I talked to the rep. And I said, what happens if we have 8? She goes, well, not that big of a deal. They don't want you to try and ask for 30 and then have 5.
Exactly.
Because they're putting those rooms on hold. But if you're trying to hold 10 and you get 8, they're probably not going to hold you. But this year we had I probably got 14 rooms.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So it's getting a little bigger and a little bigger, and it's great when you get it. Look, I'm sure when you can block off 30 rooms, they probably even give you a better deal. But last year, compared to the AP rate that come out, and our group rate was better than the AP or Florida resident rate, not by much. Like on a value, how much cheaper than the $100 a night you're going to get? But it was a little bit cheaper.
So why don't we move this into a little bit different direction here, and we'll talk just randomly. Why don't we talk about? Let's say you have one morning in Disney World. Let's say you're flying in for a business trip on a Tuesday, right? And you're going to get there. You can go to the Magic Kingdom you can get to Disney World from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock. You have 4 hours. What would you do? The same thing's going to go for you, Matt, and the same thing's going to go for you, Scott, who's in the green room waiting to come in. I'll bring you in, Scott, to discuss that. Tell me what you guys would do in a 4-hour window at Disney.
All right. So you said coming in at 2 to 4. Is that what he said?
10 to 2, I think.
Yeah, like 10 to 2. It's just like a 4-hour window.
Okay. I think I'm going to bypass breakfast if I'm only going to be there for 4 hours. I'm bypassing, breakfast. I might grab something quick to get, on the run. Probably going to head straight for Magic Kingdom. Probably going to head straight for like Splash Mountain. Go ahead and get that out of the way. Go towards the back of the park. Get away from the crowds and see what all I can tackle back there before everything else starts filtering in. Obviously they're going to head towards either Peter Pan or Seven Dwarfs. So I guess I'm kind of going the opposite direction to see what I can get done back in Fantasyland.
I think I would take a little bit. I don't think that's a bad idea, but I think I would take almost a little bit of different approach. And if I only had 4 hours and that was it, I think I would probably not eat anything. And I think I would probably almost avoid the e-ticket attractions and get as much of like PhilharMagic, Haunted Mansion, as many of those attractions as I can. And try and minimize any time in line at all. Now, look, if I could walk back, like you said, if I could run back to Frontierland and hop on Splash Mountain with little to no wait, I probably would love to do that. But I don't think you don't have the luxury of spending 45 minutes in a line if you're only going to be there for 4 hours.
Right. I was just thinking, 10, it's not quite busy yet. You still got a little bit of time before the crowds start filling in.
You may make it on there.
Right.
So that's what I was thinking that way. But yeah, if you get there and crowds are already bad, then yeah, you've got a perfect idea. Start hitting the smaller rides that you can just knock out real quick and go that route with it.
Yeah, I'm going 10 to 12. Exactly. Hit up. Yeah, I'm going to Magic Kingdom as well. You've got Haunted Mansion, Pirates. Try to stay in that general area. 12 till 2 is generally going to be your busy lunch rush where people are already going to be there or they're going to be staking out for the parade. That's where you're going to try hitting up your e-ticket if you're able to get on one.
Yep, I agree.
If you get one particular e-ticket or ride that you're trying to squeeze in that time frame, what would be the one that you would pick?
Flight of Passage.
Well, let's just say in the Magic Kingdom. You're talking about
Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, if you're going to do your 4 hours in the Magic Kingdom, what would be the one e-ticket that you're going to squeeze in?
So are we considering Haunted Mansion and e-ticket? I would say probably not, right? It's probably
I would not.
Yeah,
I think something's probably going to have a 30, 45 minute plus wait.
Yeah. So I would say Splash. I think other than so probably my favorite in Magic Kingdom is the Haunted Mansion. Right. But Splash is probably a pretty close second. And if you ask me on a different day, I may put Splash first because I think Splash just gives you it gives you a little bit of everything. It gives you a little bit of a throw ride. It gives you a little bit of a classic dark ride. It gives you great music. I mean, it's got everything going for it.
Not to mention it's a good 20 minutes worth of an attraction that you're in.
Absolutely. A lot of bang for your buck. That's right.
Well, and I think that's also going to be the deciding factor of what time of year are you there. Because if it's going to be cold, I'm not going to want to be on something where there's a chance of getting wet. So that's where I'm probably going to head to Space. If it's warmer, then yeah, I'm hitting up Splash.
Good point.
I have to apologize that the comments weren't popping up for me, so I wasn't able to keep up with some of the questions that have popped up here. But one of them was, do you guys actually remember the actual ticket books for rides, or is that before your time? It's before my time for sure. I definitely don't remember that.
Yeah, it's before my time, but I do have a opening day Disneyland ticket book.
The reproduction that they did in, it was 10 years ago, I think?
No, it's an actual
one. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, my first trip was 1986. I was 11. Still have I have one adult and one child ticket from that, but it was they were still stamping them with the little, like an ink stamp, and they had, it was a 5-day ticket and it had 5 little separate slots, and they would stamp them each day.
Right.
All right, so your buddy Disney Tail the Tape. Did you guys make food and wine this year? Any favorites from the food booth? Scott, you're a local. You can go whenever you want.
Yep.
Jimmy, have you been here yet for food and wine?
Nope. I'll be there Saturday.
Yeah. So I have been there, and on my trip in October, well, just a few weeks ago, I only got to try, I think, 3 things, I think it was. And I would say the best thing that I tried was the Kahlua pork slider at the Hawaii. I thought that was good, but the portion size was
it's so small.
Like that. It's small.
It's not even a slider.
It's not. Yeah, it's gotten tiny over the years, but it was still good.
I will tell you just from past years, my favorite thing at Food and Wine is Brazil, and it's the crispy pork belly with the black beans, and it's so good. Oh,
I think that's something Keith wanted to try.
Right.
I've never done it. There's quite a few things I want to do. I'm hoping to do it when we're there next week. So I will try a few things. That could be one of them.
And there's still a lot of things I've not had a chance to get to, but the ribeye taco at Mexico was really good. I always get the escargot in France, and the I think it's Australia, the leg of lamb, or if I remember right, with a mint pesto. What I don't remember exactly, but that one's always been really good.
Okay.
I'm also a big fan of the lettuce wrap with the kimchi slaw in South Korea.
Oh, okay.
That's been a staple for the past 4 years, 3 or 4 years. That one's kind of been there.
Jimmy, I think this one's for you. I know Kim's a big fan of your podcast. Have you ever met Chip and Company and the Disney Fashionista?
I have not met Chip. One of my co-hosts, Sam and Charlotte, were down for Epcot 35 for a press event, and they met with Chip. I'm not sure I know who the Disney Fashionista is. I think that might be Corinne Anderson.
Is it? I don't remember. I can't remember who it is.
I know she does I know Corinne, who's good friends with Panda, does a lot of Disney style and stuff like that. But I don't remember. I might be wrong.
I know when I was at the first day for AP preview for Pandora, there was a couple of people there from Chip and Co. and they were handing out buttons and everything else from them. So I informally met them at that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've met Lou in the parks and Ricky in the parks, and I've met somebody else. I don't remember who it was. Panda, I ran into him. So that's who I have met, and everybody was friendly. So there's no problems there.
I've met Lou a couple times, but when we were there in February, we had a meeting and it was at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I don't remember, but Lou had one the same day down at Disney Springs, and me and Lisa went and take a ride over there before we went to ours. We went to run the Springs and went to meet up with him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he was always fine. I know he gets a bad rap in the Disney community just because he just drinks the Kool-Aid and never says a bad thing about Disney. But listen, that's his lifestyle. I can't knock him for that. He's doing the dreams so many of us wish we could do. So you can't knock him for that.
No, and I don't know. And I used to listen to him a little bit back in the day, but I came this more through dub. So I listened to Lou a little bit, but I can't imagine he was always as by the book as he is. But I mean, look, when you start making a living out of it, you can't go around doing stupid stuff.
No, you can't.
You just can't. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just not beneficial to you. So he's nice enough. He's always been very kind to us and offered anytime, look, seriously, anything you need. He's come on our show as a guest.
Right.
So look, I've got nothing but love for him.
All right. So Stephanie Sanders asks, favorite table service for supper? Supper. That's such a funny word. That's something I don't normally say, supper. That's something I said when my parents would say all the time. But I'm not knocking you for it, Stephanie. It's just funny to hear supper. For me, for me,
I'm done. You go ahead.
You're talking over time.
See if you pick the same restaurant too.
Yeah, it would be funny. Go ahead, Jimmy.
All right. For me, it would be if I'm going to do, and usually when we're talking about, reservations, like dinner reservations with people at the dining plan and stuff, I typically recommend people do their sit downs for lunch for two reasons. One, it's easier to get places. Two, I don't like to be locked into a specific spot in the reservation for lunch and then have the rest of the day to do what I want. But if I'm going to nail down just, supper or dinner, I would say Ohana.
Yeah, that's my choice. Ohana's hit or miss. There's no doubt about that. I prefer to do lunches when I'm in Disney just because of the price. But Ohana, I love Ohana at night, especially like not necessarily in the summer, but when you're coming into this time of year when the sun starts setting, and you could be in Ohana's when the sun's setting, and you get to see the Magic Kingdom and the lights come on. That's like the perfect dinner right there.
Yeah.
Or when the fireworks are going on.
Or when the fireworks, yeah.
Oh, when they dim the lights and they start piping in the music. I haven't been there since it changed over to Happily Ever After. But, man, when you were sitting in Ohana for dinner and they would dim the lights and you hear wishes start, it's like, oh, my God, that's that's fantastic.
Can I cheat and say my favorite is Boma?
I've never been to Boma. Yeah, I don't know why that's a cheat.
It's not really a table service being a buffet, but it does require reservations.
Okay. I was thinking, since you said supper, me being a Southern boy, that's the first thing I went is to a Southern place. So it would be, I know, something like Boat Rights or something like that at,
there you go.
Port Orleans or Riverside or something like that. That's. I just was thinking down home Southern cooking when she said supper. So
that's
not a bad one.
All right. So biggest challenges producing a Disney podcast. Scott and Jimmy, you're gonna have to take these because I haven't really done any type of producing. I'm just here for the good looks.
That's true.
With you.
That's why we keep you on the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm following you on that one.
That and your Forrest Gump charm of it.
I don't. So I have to give all the props. I think the biggest thing is getting 3, 4, 5 all the same thing at the same time.
Right.
Scheduling, that's a big deal. But I know that editing and producing the show is a big deal. I don't do that. Ed does that, and now Lisa will help with that sometimes. Sometimes Sam. So he's got some help, but he does the majority of editing, and that's really, to me, that's the toughest part because that's really the behind. Pops out all my ums and ahs, and he puts them together and sends me a clip, and so for him to do that, it's a lot of. I know it's a lot of work, so I have to give him all the props on that one.
Yeah, I would say editing is. I don't know that I would necessarily call it a challenge. I would say it's time consuming. I think really the challenge is knowing your subject and your scheduling is probably the biggest challenge that we always run across.
I was gonna say, I know for us, it's always coming up with a topic where you're trying to, you're trying to be original, but I mean, with 70 bazillion different Disney podcasts out there, it's hard to be original and come up with an idea that somebody else hasn't covered, and then you're trying to take that and spin it a different way that somebody else hasn't done it. So
right.
That's always been, to me, is just trying to find something that, hasn't been talked about forever and just trying to, put your own unique spin on it.
I think the other thing is that, it's a crowded field. And I don't like to think of any other podcast as competition because we're not. I mean, we're not, right? We have people that that like all of us for different reasons. So, there's no reason. I think back when I started listening to podcasts, for whatever reason, I really gravitated toward WDW Today, even though I listen to Lou sometimes, for whatever reason, I gravitated toward that more than the other. And I don't know why, but it just is what it is. So it's interesting. And so I think that's part of it I don't consider it competition, but you got to kind of find your place. And you have to appeal to the people who listen to you.
All right, so that's a good question right there that we can go into. What are some of your favorite Disney podcasts that are no longer around? I can't really name of any because the few that I listen to are still around. So I haven't really had any that have, disappeared or anything. So y'all two might take that.
There was one called Dixie Landings Radio. That was a classic.
Yeah, those guys are hacks.
I don't know whatever happened with those two idiots.
They, I don't know. I like, I would, again, I'd have to go back to WDW Today, and I know it still exists, but it's completely different. And I know Logan, and they do a great job, but it's completely different than what it was, when it was the original guys. I do not remember Nutcott.
Yeah.
No, that was one of the very first ones.
Website was like one of the first. That was like the first like message board that I was ever on. That was like my first delve into that was before I even podcast. I found Intercot and joined their site and was part of the message boards and all.
Have either one of y'all done the Highway in the Sky dine around? And if you did, what were your impressions? Elizabeth asked that question.
I have not, but
I'd be so afraid.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that it's expensive, so I have not done it just for what I've heard about it. I'll drive myself to different places and enjoy it a little better.
I've got a couple of years ago we were doing a meetup somewhere, and then our buddy Sam's DVC, so we're going to hop on the monorail. I think we're at Tambu. We're going to hop on the monorail, and he was going to take us all up to Top of the World at Bay Lake Tower to watch Wishes. And we got on the monorail, and it moved about 5 feet got stuck there pretty much for like 20, long enough where we were late. We got to Wishes about halfway through, and I was like, when they announced that dining thing on the monorail, I'm like, man, I'd hate to be stuck on that thing. It breaks way too often for me.
Yes, it does.
If you can make one dark ride longer, what would it be? All of them.
I'm trying to think of just one that's like ridiculous.
Peter Pan.
I would say Peter Pan's always been the one that I've said trash it or extend it.
Pretty short. Even Mine Train. I know it's not necessarily a dark ride, but it has some dark ride elements, but it's a pretty short ride.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, someone said Pirates. It's long enough as it is. I think maybe if they retooled some of it and made better use of certain areas and scenes, it would, suffice. But I don't know necessarily need that it be any longer or anything.
Yeah.
Good point.
Trying to see if there's any more questions coming up. Frozen Ever After. I haven't been on it, so I can't speak for that one.
It's pretty short. I mean, but there wasn't a whole lot they could do with that because they were using the same track as Maelstrom.
Maelstrom wasn't that long to begin with, so
they really it's the same length. It's just different scenes.
All right, so Jesse says we want more of the Redhead. All right, let's discuss this for a minute here of what is coming to the Pirates. Has anybody seen the Disneyland Paris version of the attraction? Have you seen the videos of it?
Well, I haven't seen videos. When I was, they just redid it. Never mind. So it wouldn't matter. When I was there, it was before they redid it. So never mind.
I tried to watch the video, but it was in French, so I don't know
what it's up. Didn't translate well.
No, it didn't. I'm hoping that at least some of the original dialogue will remain. I understand some of it can't remain, but I don't want the whole thing taken away. So whether they're going to have voice actors that have a voice close enough to the originals, I'm hoping that will stay in some way. I don't want the entire scene just removed. There's so many classic lines in there. The pirate, his voice is just so iconic to that attraction. I'd hate to see it gone.
Yeah.
So remind me again. I know that they're making the Redhead an actual pirate. Are they completely taking out the whole auctioneer part of it, or is he going to be auctioneering off a donkey or something instead, or do you even remember what they were supposed to be doing with that?
Yeah, they are going to. I guess people are going to be able to take their goods for sale there. I guess sort of like a flea market, I believe. Don't hold me to it, but I think that's what it's supposed to be, where it's like an actual flea market going on, that people taking their goods to be sold there, and she's in charge of it. She's now in charge of the whole shebang there.
She's running the auction.
Yeah.
Terri, your check is in the mail.
Yeah, Jesse, the items are going to be auctioned off. Yeah, we figured that. But Pirates is one of my favorite attractions of all time. If anything, I'd like to see them do to it, not necessarily make the attraction longer, but bring a restaurant into it, just like Disneyland. I want that to happen.
There were lots of pirates at flea markets. It's true.
Yeah, I was going to say they were normally selling other things other than trinkets, but yeah, they had flea markets.
Right. Well, I remember that from the history books. I remember all the flea markets. That's where they got it from.
But no, like you were saying, Sean, a restaurant I think would be kind of cool. I don't know exactly where they would work it in. That's the one thing with that one that they didn't get with, Disneyland. You don't have the extra room, as they were trying to cram it in between where they had it and the train passing over and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know exactly where they would work the restaurant in. I think it might be cool at the end of it, instead of doing the traditional walk into a gift shop after you get off an attraction, if you had it, kind of in there somehow, move the gift shop across over to where Tortuga Tavern ends. It's only open, 3-4 months out of the year. So
I don't know why they couldn't put it back on the other side of the railroad tracks and have you kind of walk down so thinking about facing Pirates, there's that walkway that kind of goes down the left. So they could put the entrance back there and kind of have you walk underneath traction, have you walk underneath and then enter a restaurant.
That would be cool. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
With an overlook of like the attraction.
Overlooking the fire scene towards the end, I guess, would probably be the best spot for it.
Sure.
I'd love for that. I mean, that would just, or, they've done those things in the Haunted Mansion where they've done meetups and they've had meals in the Haunted Mansion. There's enough space in there to do that, but I would pay to have a meal in Pirates. I would love to be able to do that.
Sure.
It doesn't matter where in there, anywhere would be great. I mean, even if it's just a few tables here and there in different sections, I mean, that would be a lot of fun.
That's an interesting
too much
idea.
of an issue to keeping people out of the water.
Maybe true.
Yeah. And then, you can go back to Small World. I mean, that's the closest thing that we have to.
I would do any of those where they have music like Tower of Terror or Haunted, and I would do any of those. I think that would be amazing just to kind of see them. I don't have to. Disappear on us. I'm not sure what happened.
I'll say it froze on my side, so I don't know what was going on. I just showed that here I am again. I didn't see if any other comments were coming through either. I didn't see any.
It just kicked me off. I'm sorry. That's
okay.
Really
it happens. We did our live show last night and we had all kind of technical issues, and I think it was mostly with Facebook because I was even trying to watch it. Usually when we're live, I'll have my tablet next to me watching it all and I couldn't even see the comments on the. That's not true. Parted.
I think I had the least amount.
I just got mine cut today, so mine's a fresh one.
Yeah.
I need a haircut.
Terri's one of our friends who is a cast member down there. She works with the First Order in Hollywood Studios.
Oh, cool. Hey, Terri.
But her and her friend Chris and her son Jonathan are very good friends of ours. Chris was actually the first. They lived in New Jersey, up by you, Sean, and
they escaped. Good for you.
They escaped. Chris was our first. This was 4 years ago. Chris was our first person we ran into in the parks, and she was like, "Hey, you guys are from the Disney Nerds podcast," and that was our first picture with a listener.
Oh, cool.
And then 3 years, they ended up moving down, and all three of them, Chris, Terri, and Terri's son Jonathan, are all cast members now.
See, Sean, some people actually know to leave Jersey.
Well, I'm trying. Terri's on to you guys. It's really just delayed in sync. The same guy in different outfits talking to himself.
Yes,
it feels that way in my head at times.
No arguments here. And Jamie too. I don't want to forget Jamie.
Yeah, I'd like to escape New Jersey and not come out. I would miss Christmas, snow during Christmas, but that's about it.
We get snow here. I mean, we get Snope, but
yes, Snope. You don't eat the Snope.
You have to ask yourself at this point, Sean, would it be cheaper just to fly to Jersey during Christmas rather than fly to Florida 3-4 times a year?
Exactly.
It would be way cheaper to fly to New Jersey, but I don't think I'd go back to New Jersey. I think if anything, I'll go to Alaska and just suffer through it. Just get it all at once. Get 6 feet in front of me. Oh, this is great, and then fly back down to Florida.
Yeah.
Nope. I'll stick to my Snope. I'm good.
Right, Jesse, if you could walk through one of these, which one would you choose? Haunted Mansion or Pirates? Pirates easily for me.
Really?
Haunted Mansion easily for me.
Yeah. Haunted Mansion. There's so much that I would love to see in that one. Pirates, I mean, you pretty much see everything while you're there with the Haunted Mansion. There's so much that you don't. I mean, I just the attic scene alone, I would love to go and just walk through that area just to look at everything that's in there.
Well,
we did the Keys to the Kingdom in January, and I forgot how many one of the things they did was hide Jack skeletons because we don't get the Christmas version like they do in Disneyland. So when they redid it, they hid a bunch of Jack Skellingtons in there. And I think one of them's like on the cover of a magazine that's kind of in the attic, but there's a ton of them. There's so much cool stuff to see in there.
I never knew that. That's awesome. I'm going to have to look for that now.
Yeah.
I have a question. What do you think, what Disney attraction, I guess, redo or re-image that they've done, that they've enhanced, you think they've done the best job to? So, like they've done to Haunted Mansion, changing the outside, adding things inside the attraction. What attraction that they've enhanced do you think they've done the best job with? I mean, probably Pirates is probably the one that jumps to my mind the most, just because of what they've done outside, what they've done in the attic scene, because that greatly enhanced the attraction, because now you have different ideas of what has happened. We know that the bride has killed every one of her husbands. So the idea was that she pushed you out and you're falling backwards out and you land in the graveyard. So that certainly adds more to the story of the Haunted Mansion, having that happen with that scene going into it. That is enhanced it. Then the stairs, I know a lot of people don't like the stairs that have come there, but I think it works well for the Haunted Mansion. I'm sure they could come up with something else new, but I think it works.
I think also the Haunted Mansion, I think if you talk to people, the stereophonic sounds in the stretching room was a great ad when they redid that. And Leota, the floating, they changed it. It actually floats and not just sits on the table.
The hitchhiking ghost at the end interacting with you directly.
Yeah, they've probably plussed that the most out of any attraction, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I mean, others, I think there's just been little bits here and there, but a true revamp for a better one. I mean, you had a change in Spaceship Earth, but I don't believe it's been better. I think Mansion is probably the best.
I mean, Pirates has been enhanced with not as much as the Haunted Mansion, but I mean, you have the mist screen in the beginning that's been added. They have the mermaids that were in there that are no longer there. They've had Johnny Depp. Whether you like that or not, it does fit.
I think,
and it's one of the few attractions that
fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of the few attractions that was turned into a movie, not that's been IP based, and they made an attraction out of that. So that's got it going for it. And then it's there's other ones that have had minor. I guess Haunted Mansion is probably the one that did the best.
What about the Tiki Room? Switching back to the original from the under new management. That was
the shortened version, the new shorter version.
After it caught on fire.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people that actually liked the under new management. I thought it was fun, but the original is still the best. But I mean, with the rumors going on, it looks like Moana might take over if the rumors are true.
Right. Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strong rumor of them replacing with an entire Moana attraction now.
Here's a good one. Good. I'm glad you're subscribing to us. Thank you very much. But what do you guys think about the gondola system coming to Walt Disney World, or the gondola system, depending how you like to hear the word?
Being from New Orleans and knowing that Scott's in Florida, I think he probably has the same sentiment in thinking that I wish they had air conditioner.
Yeah, I'm shocked with that. Shocked.
That, and I just think your ride capacity and logistically with hurricanes and afternoon lightning storms, it seems like it closes anything that's. I don't see how that's going to help improve bus systems and really any of the transportation here. If anything, I think it's just going to make it a logistical nightmare for the people that are using that system.
It's going to be interesting because like the monorail, it's going to be an attraction as much as transportation,
right?
So, I don't know, and it's going to be transportation from areas that have nothing else but buses. So maybe you take it. I've taken monorail times that I knew that might not be the most efficient way, but I do enjoy the monorail. So maybe you're probably going to get some of that. It's cool in one way, but I think it's got some challenges too.
Yeah, it's going to give you a unique perspective of areas of Walt Disney World that you probably wouldn't normally see. The same thing goes for the monorail. You're seeing things you wouldn't normally see from the ground level. So that's something that I am looking forward to doing, is seeing backstage a little bit more, little hints here and there. I always enjoy that, no matter how small it was. Especially when the original Skyway was in Magic Kingdom. I used to love that attraction because I got to see things I couldn't see from the ground. So that's what I'm looking forward to with it. To me, it's going to be an attraction.
And so, I've said this on our podcast before. I am a fan of the in-game.
Mm-hmm.
If you're adding something without taking something else from me, look, I'm all for it. I'm willing to give it a shot. You know what I mean? So it's tougher when they take something away and change it to something else. And that's not always bad, but then I think you have to look at what it was and look at what it is and then make a judgment. But when it's a net gain, look, if I never ride it, but it takes people out the park and puts them on a gondola and makes lines a little bit shorter for me, so be it.
Right. Yeah. So Terry says, I don't think they should change any of the remaining attractions that Walt Disney himself had a part in. There's very few left.
Well, and really at Walt Disney World itself, I mean, can you say that really any of that other than what, Carousel Progress?
Carousel Progress. Small World, technically, but they completely changed the one at Disneyland.
Right.
I would say Pirates, I guess it depends on how you define it, but the Tiki Room, has definitely been touched by Walt personally.
Right.
But I think I'm also okay with it I don't think I would like it if they got rid of if they changed the one in Walt Disney World to Moana and the one in Disneyland to Moana. I'd be like, ooh.
Right.
I think one of them has to exist because of the close connection. I don't know that both of them have to exist.
Right. Well, before you guys jump in the next question, I do have to jump off of this so I can edit our Tiki Chronicles for tomorrow to come out. But Jimmy, I'll let you stay on and keep talking with Sean and Matt. But wanted to thank our viewers and our listeners for watching this. Be sure to get us on all our social media, and then me personally on Twitter, Scotty Campbell, and Instagram at ScottyBoy. So, Jimmy, thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the time with the gentlemen.
Thank you, man. I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. We'll see you then.
All right. So, next question: monorail or boat? Monorail, without a doubt, for me.
Oh, man. So, I would normally say monorail. Last in July, I was there, me and my wife and my son. My daughter didn't make the trip, but I had never been inside the Grand Floridian. After many, many trips, I'd just never been. I'd never taken the ride over there. So we decided we wanted to go just see the lobby. So Kingdom to Grand Floridian.
Right.
And that is a work of art. I mean, it is fantastic. And that was a monorail friendship boat. It's definitely going to be the monorail every time. But that like wooden, like classic looking vessel that they used to go back and forth to Grand Floridian is absolutely beautiful. And it was so worth taking that trip.
That's one thing I love about staying at the Wilderness Lodge, is being able to take that when I go to the Magic. I love it. I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say the times that I've stayed at Fort Wilderness, it's hard to beat that boat ride back, especially at nighttime when everything's kind of quiet and it's cooled off and it's peaceful, and it's hard to beat that boat ride back, and you don't have to stand in line nearly as long for those boats as you do for the monorail. So it has its pluses and its advantages than the monorail does.
Brandon's got a good point here. Is with two young kids, you can push the stroller right onto the monorail. The small boats, you have to fold the stroller. Yes, I've been there many a times having to do that. But with when I'm staying at the Wilderness Lodge, every other boat, it's the bigger one, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't know about the Polynesian or Grand Floridian. I don't know if it does that. I think they're just the small one. So at the Wilderness Lodge, they'll get the bigger one, so I can just wheel the one on, so I'll wait for that one. But I can understand that point where the monorail definitely comes in more handy versus that.
Is the bigger boat the kind of similar to the friendship boat?
It's almost looks like a small ferry boat in a way. It's much larger. It's much larger than the friendship boat. It looks like a cross between the friendship boat and a ferry boat, really.
Gotcha. Okay.
Matt, you look frozen there. I hope
he's frozen. He's frozen. Ever after.
Those bugs on the friendship boat.
The one downside to pushing your stroller on the monorail is.
Well, I wonder if it's just a weird delay.
Can you not hear me?
I think his.
I can hear you now.
Kind of freezing it up.
Yeah, the small boats are also good. Do we need to call someone for Matt? Because Matt, you froze. Your mouth was like. But he's okay. I'm sure he's fine. He's gone. So now it's just you and me, Jimmy. Looks like.
I think he was. I was having issues like that for a while, and it ended up, I think, being my internet. I ended up having to make sure. I ended up actually changing internet services, but then making sure everybody else was on one channel and just my computer was on the other, because Facebook is just so damn finicky. If you don't get the exact right amount, it will freeze you up.
Right. Let's see here.
Somebody called for me. It was wanting to make sure I was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you're okay. You're back.
Okay.
Let's see. I guess we're probably coming to the end of the broadcast, but Jimmy, it's going to be exciting to see you next week. I'm looking forward to that. with your upcoming trip, what is the one thing you're probably most looking forward to on that trip?
God, there's so much going on because we have so many people meeting. But, one of the things that really just stands out from the beginning is when we get there, my cousin who lives here is going with her boyfriend, and he's never been. And I always love taking that role of being able to show somebody who's never been just what I like, and, kind of keep telling them all the little things that, most people walk by. I'm definitely looking. Thank you, Morgan. I am looking forward to a Carl's combo. If you've never had one, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I've never had one.
You got a Carl's combo is it's a beer at the Rose and Crown. I'm actually drinking a beer out of my Rose and Crown glass right now. But there's a bartender at the Rose and Crown his name's Carl, and he's been there since the opening. And it's just a mix of Stella and Bass. But he kind of invented it, so everybody called it a Carl's combo. And if you go there during the day, you get to meet Carl and talk to him. He's pretty. So it's really more about him, I think, than the beer. But the beer's pretty good too.
Well, you can't go wrong with a cold beer on a hot day inside air conditioning.
Rose and Crown, right?
Yeah, at Rose and Crown, that's a great spot.
So going back to the other thing, though, I really love. I hate when somebody I know goes to Walt Disney World and says, I just didn't get it. I'm like, well, it's probably because you didn't go with me. Because I would have made you get it. You would have completely understood it. You just didn't have the right person directing you. So.
It is fun going to Disney World with someone who's never been there before. It's more specifically an adult, not necessarily a child, but an adult who has no idea what to expect, and you get to show them what they should be seeing, not what the books tell you to see, and following a book and a guide in that way. You don't need to follow that. Listen to advice for what other people say, especially podcasters or people that do videos on YouTube. We've been there so many times. We might skip some of the things that are mainstream that some of the books will tell you to, but we're going to try to let you in on some secrets or do some things that the books aren't going to tell you to do.
Sure. And I think some of that is, I think the books are so designed to tell people the most efficient way to cram everything in.
Right.
Where my number one advice for people who've never been or don't go often is don't worry about cramming everything in. Slow down. Enjoy the details.
Right. Yeah. Easier said than done. I mean, look, Matt, you haven't been there in a few years and you're going with your family. So you're going to try to do as many things as you possibly could.
Well, yeah, I've got all the, I guess you could say, negative forces on me. I haven't been there since it was January of last year. We've only gone for 4 days. It's, the whole family. So yeah, we're going to be trying to do what I want to do what the kids want to do, try and make time for Sean and everybody else. So I'm going to be pulled in about 5 different directions on this trip. So yeah, it's going to be, probably cramming everything in and on top of that, trying to run races in the morning. So it'll be interesting.
You're going to be exhausted by noon.
I'm glad I've got 2 or 3 days after the trip off from work so I can catch back up on, the sleep that I'm going to need.
Why not just stay in there for 2-3 days?
Because then he would need another 3 days. It's a vicious cycle.
Well, that and the fact that my wife is a teacher, and in North Carolina, with her being a teacher, if she takes time off, they just dock her check. So we're kind of paying extra for already an expensive trip. So yeah, it doesn't work out.
Thanks, Bob. Disney trip pressure is a real thing. Yeah, it is. It's like you have all these things that you want, especially with when you're going with a group of people or young kids, you have so many things that you need to do. And it's a disappointment when you don't get to all of it, or you don't get to it all in the amount of time that you had thought. Like when I know there are a lot of people out there that will do schedules up to the minute. We're going on Small World from 11 to 11:30. At 11:40, we're going to go pee. I don't get. Like, how do you know you're going to have to pee at 11:40? So that's putting a lot of pressure on your trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I went in January of last year, it was, me and my family, my wife, her mom and husband, and her sister's family. And it was one of those where we would try to get together and plan things. And they're like, "Oh, we don't know. You just pick for us." So I'm like,
Right.
And it ranges anywhere from, 60-year-old grandparents down to year-old.
He's frozen up on my end, Sean. I don't know if you can hear him.
Yeah, he froze up on me as well. I don't know what happened. All right, here's another question from Maria. That's why when I go this time, my daughter, son-in-law, and my grandson, I told my daughter and son-in-law to leave him with me so they can go off and experience what they want to there. I can't. It's hard for me to see it, but I wish somebody would. That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, we've gone with groups of people before, and you got to be, when you go with a group of people, you got to be willing to split up. You cannot go with a group of people and try and plan to do everything together.
Right. I'm just laughing. Alan over here is just
the
laughing.
Mannequin challenge.
The mannequin challenge. Alan's gone catatonic again. Mike here brings up a good point. Is going solo is the best. I mean, if you want to have fun at Disney and you don't have to worry about anybody's schedule, going solo is number one.
I would recommend, and I'll give the Disney Nerds podcast a plug. I would recommend Googling the Disney Nerds podcast solo trip, and we did it's been a couple of years, but we did a whole episode on doing solo trips and what people do on those. I've
done one solo trip. I just want to sing Red Solo Cup for some reason, but
go ahead.
But solo trips are fun. It's you could do what you want when you want, anytime, and you don't have to worry about anybody.
I've never done a solo trip. I've had when my kids were young, were there for the during Halloween, and we were doing the Halloween party that night. So my wife took the kids, and they were old enough where they were manageable. I mean, they were probably 10 and 12 or something like that. But she took them back to the room to go get changed in the costumes for the Halloween party. And I get to spend a couple hours in the park by myself. And it was quite enjoyable. But, a lot of times when we go now, my kids are 18 and 16, and they don't always go. Like on this trip, they don't go with us. This is more of an adult trip. So a lot of times it's just me and my wife. It's almost like a solo trip. Like we just do whatever we want. We don't have to talk. We don't have to consult. No, we just go.
Lisa, I'd be divorced if I did a solo trip.
She would be.
See, now if my wife did that, I'd be very angry. But she would let me do a solo trip if that. I don't think that would be a problem.
Our co-host Ed, who's going to be down with us, he comes down. This will be his 4th year, and he comes alone every year. But his wife's not as big of a Disney nerd as he is, so and he doesn't come I'll be there. My wife will be there for the whole week. He'll come, I think, Wednesday night or Thursday and stay through the weekend. So he doesn't come quite as long, but he typically comes by himself.
Right. Elizabeth did a solo afternoon. It was nice to do what I wanted, but I also miss sharing it with my husband. Yeah, but he's not slowing you down. You just go, 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 go. That's the beauty of it.
Or maybe she gets to slow down, does not go, go, go.
Right.
Or the opposite of that. That's absolutely a good point.
Yep.
I could literally have a bucket of popcorn and just sit on Center Street and listen to the piano lessons and the singing lessons and all that stuff going on out that window upstairs and just kind of watch people walk down Main Street.
Right.
I could spend an hour just sitting there doing it.
Yeah, that's a hidden gem to Disney. Have you done that, Matt?
Yeah.
Back when I was a kid, maybe early high school age, we would go down with my family and I would just kind of disappear and go do my own thing. But no, I haven't done anything like that since then. You know, it's always been either with the wife or with the kids. So I haven't had the chance to do a solo trip or anything like that.
Right. All right. Well, I think we had a great discussion tonight. I think we certainly went long enough. Jimmy, why don't you tell everybody out there where they could find you, find your podcast and everything?
So the Disney Nerds podcast is available on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. We do TuneIn Radio for people who have the Amazon Echo, which I love doing this. You just say, Alexa, play the Disney Nerds podcast. And usually we'll have somebody listening who their Echo goes off. But it'll play our podcast. And then on Facebook, the Disney Nerds podcast Facebook page. And then we have a group called Disney Nerds. I would definitely recommend joining the group. Twitter at the Disney Nerds and Instagram at the Disney Nerds podcast.
Matt, why don't you tell everybody where they could find you?
Right now I'm in North Carolina. Online, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at mholly579.
Speaking of North Carolina, Jimmy, one of the big things that we've all on Enchanted Tiki Talk have loved is cheerwine. Have you ever had it?
No.
You haven't had cheerwine?
No. Why? What's the tie to North Carolina?
It's from North Carolina. They started born in North Carolina, and it's just now really starting to get where it's being distributed outside, any type of distance outside of North Carolina.
I was just curious because we have Joe Spady, who makes our Disney Nerds podcast T-shirts for us, and Morgan, who just commented, and both of them they're both part of the like Morgan's one of our bloggers and helps out on the live streams and admin in the group and makes our shirts for us. But both of them are from North Carolina. So I'm glad you brought it up. Now I get some. Tell me about it.
It's good. It's cherry cola basically, but it's not. It's it basically is, but it's so tasty. It's so refreshing. And you can throw that in vanilla ice cream. You get yourself a nice float. It's really good. They have Krispy Kreme cheer wines and all that kind of good stuff. So that's always fun.
I love it. I love stuff like that, just kind of regional stuff. I mean, look, when I went in February, we had a meetup at the Poly, and I'm from New Orleans, so we drove up. So I brought like 15 king cakes with us, and just everybody that came to meet up. And we got some friends that are from here that live there, so they love that stuff. So king cakes and hurricanes and beignets, and so anything like that is awesome. So I love same thing. Anything regional or local like that is so cool to just try.
Yeah, I'm always into things like that, any kind of regional thing, because it's not something I'm used to having. Like when I've gone down to New Orleans, beignets are great from Cafe Du Monde. The place right across the street from there that's got the olive spread sandwiches, starts with a P.
Muffalata.
Muffalata, P. Yeah, nice job, Sean. Muffalata, love those things. And then it's just so many regional things that enhance your experience no matter where you are. And it's like both Keith, who was not able to be here, he's been to Jersey a few times, and one of the things that he loved the most was I'm having a brain fart, Taylor ham, egg, and cheese for breakfast. It's a great breakfast sandwich, or when you've had a few drinks, it's like the perfect thing, and he loved it. It's a regional thing that you just enjoy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love stuff like that.
Any last question here? I don't think so. Disney Through Our Eyes. Hey, guys. Hey, we're leaving, but you can certainly rewind and check it out. Yes, Central Grocery. That's it. That's the name of the place. Yes, been there many a times. Love that. But I think that's going to be it for me. Sean, you can find me on Twitter at 1 Minute Disney Dream. And you can find our podcast at enchantedtikitalk.com. And you can also find the Disney Nerds, thanks Morgan, at the Disney Nerds podcast.com. You can check it out there. Or like Jimmy said, you can find both podcasts on Twitter, Stitcher, iTunes, any kind of one of those aggregators that are out there. So certainly, if you haven't listened to Enchanted Tiki Talk, for those that are from Jimmy's site over there, please check us out. And for those who are from our site, check out Jimmy's podcast with his group there. They're a fun group to listen to as well. And just spread the Disney love. That's all we care about. That's
the main thing.
Yep. And Matt, please try not to freeze.
Mannequin challenge.
Do my best.
Yeah. Great job. Thanks, guys. Good night, everybody.
Go, Irene.